Can you explain these sightings? We're gonna check it out. But look, man, make sure y'all smash that like button. Look, it's always good vibes over here. Just know we're going through this thing called life together. So let's get into this video without further ado.
Our first clip of the day was submitted to our Slaptam subreddit by user PreferenceHumble6559. On the night of October 20th, 2022, this OP noticed something strange hovering in the sky over Colorado Springs. They took out their phone. This is what they caught.
Like 8 or 9 lights just...
A cluster of unidentified orange lights are floating in the night sky.
Those are bright too.
In this second clip, the lights have separated. Moments later, they begin to vanish, leaving just 2 orbs of light.
Now they just disappeared.
If you zoom in, there appears to be a core of light with a trail of more dim light coming off of it.
A little smoke trail or nothing. Like flares?
Looks crazier than the
Can't be flares that just sitting there though, you know?
I think they're flares.
Flares just don't
Interestingly,
hover.
earlier in the year, residents around the Colorado Springs area reported similar balls of golden light floating in the sky. This eyewitness account was uploaded to the TikTok account Ashtar Spaceship News. In this sighting, you can see 2 orbs of light on the horizon.
Unless they got anti-gravity flares. And why would you waste time on anti-gravity flares?
Then in September, more strange sightings took place in Colorado Springs. This time, residents reported seeing distinct streaks of light across the sky early in the morning. This footage was captured on September 20th at 6:45 a.m.
Imagine waking up in the morning and seeing that.
KKTV 11, where it began to gain attention across the state of Colorado.
That's wild.
You
That
can
ruined a
see
lot of
long
people's day.
streaks of light in the morning sky. KKTV 11 News reached out to local military bases but received no response. They then contacted the National Weather Service in Pueblo to see if anything was coming up on their radar. They confirmed that several objects were indeed pinging on the radar in an area east of Colorado Springs, but they weren't able to identify the objects. A subsequent video sent to the news station shows a triangular craft flying through the air.
Tell me what the hell that looks like to you.
Like the Nighthawk plane that we used to have.
Like that?
We retired.
I don't think so.
11 News tried contacting the Department of Defense, who couldn't comment on the sightings. After an exhaustive search, a journalist at 11 News got in contact with the Air Force Global Strike Command. They were able to confirm the triangular craft in the last clip is a B-2 Spirit bomber.
Okay, so it's a
Details
B-2.
on what they were doing in the Colorado area remains unavailable. Interestingly, B-2s are normally stationed in Whiteman Air Force Base in Missouri, not in Colorado. So this seems to explain the streaks of light, but what about the orbs of orange light that have been seen in the area as well? Are they also some kind of military craft? Or is there something more mysterious going on here?
See, like the thing is, bro, like when they tell you when you tell a lie, then you're gonna have to tell a lot more other lies to even cover up that one lie. The truth is always in the lie, though. That's one thing. Y'all gotta rethink the way that you think, and the truth is always in the lie. So when they tell you certain things, the easiest way for you to figure it out is just really pay attention to their words and what's really going on. You can decipher what's real and what's not. You know, they can't prove those hovering lights out there in the same areas and stuff like that. So why are all these incidences happening and you can only give us a detailed explanation for one? It means you're probably trying to cover something up, You know, you're trying to soften the blow a little bit, get people not thinking about it no more, just to give them a little quick little answer. You think people are just going about their ways. But nah, we here on the internet and we seen it. We seen it. We on y'all ass.
This next eerie photo was sent to us by Reddit user SH1TH3AD87. The OP says that their brother-in-law serves in the military and is currently stationed in Okinawa, Japan.
Okinawa.
Over the years, the brother-in-law has told stories about seeing a ghostly little girl in and around the barracks. She would appear in fleeting glimpses, but when anyone would try and find her, she'd simply vanish. When on leave, the soldier's wife took this photo of her husband. In the background, you can make out a faint suggestion of a little girl standing at the back of the room. When the image was posted to Reddit, numerous comments said that they too had heard stories of the military base in Okinawa being haunted.
Yes.
Camp Hansen is a United States Marine Corps base located in Okinawa, Japan.
Right down the street from
compound at the infamous
Kadena.
Gate 3, many soldiers have reported strange activity. It's said that every weekend, a soldier dressed in World War II fatigues approaches the gate. He's covered in blood with a cigarette hanging from his mouth. He asks the on-duty guard for a light, then simply vanishes from sight. There are reports of this gate being closed altogether because of this haunting. Some Japanese guards refuse to be posted there. This next unsettling clip was captured at Kadena Air Base in Okinawa.
Hey, look, y'all, real shit. I used to be working this gate sometimes. You know what I'm saying? A lot when I was in Kadena. And I personally didn't see any apparitions or anything, but I definitely did feel something there at this gate. And this shit is not cap. It's not.
Okinawa on June 28, 2008. The footage, which was uploaded to YouTube by Jose Cruz, focuses on an intersection just outside of the base. Watch what happens.
You see?
Yeah, I see the shadow moving.
You see how it moves? It's
Yeah,
like in
it's
this
right.
corner.
It's right behind the sign. Yeah.
And it's gonna fly away in a little bit.
Right there, it's gone.
Just behind a road sign in the bottom left corner of the screen, a dark shadow begins to slowly amass.
Yeah. You definitely feel the presence, but I've never seen it.
You see?
Yeah, I see the shadow moving.
You see how it moves? It's
Yeah,
like in
it's
this
right.
corner. And
It's
that's
right behind the sign.
At first, it looks like an ordinary shadow, but as it grows darker, it becomes clear that something more unusual is happening.
You see?
Yeah, I see the shadow moving.
You see how it moves? It's
Yeah,
like in
it's
this
right.
corner. And
It's
that's
right behind the sign.
Suddenly, the shadow raises itself from the ground and flies across the road.
Right there, it's gone. Hold on.
You want to see it again? I'll rewind.
Hold on.
It hovers for a moment before returning to the center of the street.
It's coming though. Really? You saw it?
Yep.
It's crazy, right?
Oh, that's game over. Let's see.
So could Okinawa really be haunted? During World War II, the death toll in Okinawa was immense. It's estimated that 12,000 US soldiers and 110,000 Japanese soldiers were killed in battle. A further 150,000 civilian lives were also lost in the carnage. With such a great loss of life, it certainly does make you wonder whether some kind of residual energy might be lingering across Okinawa. Perhaps their spirits are tethered to the area, not fully aware that they've actually died.
Right there, it's gone.
You want to know something else like about Japan? After all of the stuff that happened over there, even though like it was bad, y'all, but I'll tell you this, those people are so nice, man. Those people are so nice. And I you know, it's a lot more I want to say, but I'm not gonna say it. I'm just gonna shut the hell up. You know, I'm gonna get back to this video. I'm just gonna get back to it. Look, I ain't trying to be here all day. Don't shut up.
Is it possible that a time traveler ran for US presidency? A lot of unexpected people have run for political office, TV stars, wrestlers, even porn stars. However, perhaps one of the most unusual candidates in history was 2016 US presidential candidate Andrew Basiago. Running on a platform based on time travel and extraterrestrials, Basiago set himself apart even from the most bizarre of candidates.
Never knew this.
Basiago's alleged experiences with time travel began at an early age. As a child, he was identified as a physically gifted youth and was set on a course towards a future of traveling through time. Basiago was given training such as karate and aikido lessons to prepare him for future missions in time and space. William White Crowe, another vocal time traveller, has backed up Basiago's claims, asserting that he did in fact teach Basiago karate to prepare him for time travel. Crowe also asserts that he and Basiago met again years later on Mars, where they had both been sent by their top secret employer for a mission to research extraterrestrials. It isn't surprising that Andrew Basiago was selected to participate in such adventures. According to him, his father helped create the technology that made teleporting and travelling in time possible when he worked for Ralph M. Parsons Engineering Corporation. Before long, it was time for Basiago to try out the amazing technology for himself. He describes the time travel machine his father created as looking like two large parentheses. The elliptical booms were 8 feet tall and set 10 feet apart. He noted that the computers that ran the machine seemed old, and the machine was plugged into the wall with a simple plug that resembled ones used for any household appliance. To use the machine, the time traveller had to jump into a plasma confinement chamber between two booms. For his first jump, Basiago used the teleportation function rather than the time travel function. According to Basiago, he successfully travelled to the capital of New Mexico. After mastering teleportation through several more jumps, he was allowed to travel through time, first going backward just 1 hour to get used to the sensation, and then taking greater and greater leaps. Soon, he was a fully fledged professional time traveller who could travel up to 1 million years in the past. He continued this work throughout his childhood, according to reports. You may be wondering who sponsored Andrew Basiago's adventures in space and time. After all, such technology would take time and money to create. According to Basiago, the CIA and DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, were the benefactors. They called it Project Pegasus. Basiago was part of the mysterious project for a decade, from 1962 until 1972. However, he asserts that the program had been running long before he began his work there and continues to this day. According to Basiago, some of the goals of Project Pegasus include contacting former presidents with information about the future and communicating with aliens, mostly Martians. The project used the plasma containment chamber that Basiago's father helped develop, along with a time machine created by none other than Nikola Tesla. In describing his travels through time, Basiago states it was more like going to other branches of our timeline that are parallel to this one. He was often sent to the same point in time on multiple occasions, sometimes even seeing other versions of himself. According to statements, this led to some sticky situations where his cover was almost blown. One important aspect of Basiago's job with Project Pegasus was to travel back in time to observe important historical figures during major events. For example, he travelled to the Middle East to report on Jesus, and to the Revolutionary War to report on George Washington. Basiago states that the CIA and DARPA had a keen interest in verifying the truth of events surrounding these important.
And you know what? They went back looking for people, and they was like, yo, these niggas was telling the truth. That's all I got to say. That's probably what they found out.
Figures, because of just how vital they are to the nation's history. Basiago's stories about his work suggest that his role was only to observe, not to interact or intervene. It was only when visiting past and future presidents that members of Project Pegasus made attempts to change the future. In addition to travelling to the past, Basiago also took trips into the future, according to some reports. He states that he went as far forward as 2045. His mission on these trips was to bring historical information that had been lost by future societies, somehow neglected in the rush to digitize information. He paints a lovely picture of the future, stating that the building he visited was made of shining emerald and tungsten. Basiago's most widely known trip through time was to Lincoln's famous Gettysburg Address. Why is this trip the one that he's best known for? Because Basiago claims to have photographic evidence of his presence there. In this photo, we can see a young man, perhaps only a child, in the center of the frame wearing ill-fitting shoes. According to Basiago, this is him. The Gettysburg Address wasn't the only time that Basiago visited Lincoln. In some of his most important trips back in time, he dropped in on Lincoln during his infamous visit to the Ford Theatre, where he would be assassinated. According to Basiago, the purpose of these trips was to verify who had actually been responsible for Lincoln's assassination. Despite visiting this event multiple times, even running into other versions of himself, he was never able to actually witness the assassination. Basiago states that unlike on other trips where he was given documentation that would help him escape sticky situations, he had no documentation when visiting the Ford Theatre. Therefore, he had to be extra careful not to blow his cover, and having multiple versions of himself running around almost led to disaster, some reports say. For this reason, he was unable to complete his mission to identify the true culprit. In addition to using machines built by his father and Tesla to move through time, Andrew Basiago claims he also had the opportunity to teleport using the technology. He went to numerous places, but his most exciting trips involved travelling to Mars to observe and communicate with extraterrestrials. According to reports, Basiago was in good company in his alien endeavours. According to him, none other than Barack Obama, who was also a participant in Project Pegasus, often joined him on these trips. Basiago was allegedly very successful in his missions to Mars.
I wonder how that shit was like going on some damn missions with Barack. You know what I'm saying? Now look, man. Barack probably had his damn cigarettes out there on Mars. You know what I'm saying? Stressed the hell out. That's why his hair gray like that. He don't even look close to being the same age as he. Bro, I know it was 8 years, right? But it didn't look like that nigga was in office for 8 years, bro. It looked like it was much longer than that. It looked like he was in there for about 20, 30. You know? So I believe it. They sent him to Mars. His hair turned gray, stressed him out.
Mars. He claims he was the first one
Make
to
it sense to
discover
me.
evidence of life
My own
on
conspiracy.
Mars, first observing signs of water, then actual extraterrestrials. Because of his success on Mars, he also visited Venus and found alien life there as well. According to Basiago, the extraterrestrials on Venus are more fragile than the solidly built Martians. Some reports detail one truly epic trip where Basiago and 3 other members of Project Pegasus were attacked by pterodactyl-like creatures on Mars. Luckily, Basiago was able to save everyone and make it back to Earth with the full team intact. According to Basiago, several of the United States presidents didn't get elected by chance. Project Pegasus identified certain individuals and went back in time to help them on their path to becoming president. George H.W. Bush, George W. Bush, Barack Obama, and Donald Trump were all Project Pegasus targets. Basiago has never given any indication about why the CIA and DARPA have chosen to interfere in this way. Obama, Trump, and the Bushes aren't the only people Project Pegasus has identified as presidents. According to Basiago, his forays into the future have assured him that he himself will take office sometime before 2028. He made his first attempt at the presidency in the
Cap, nigga. That's all I got to say. Cap. We gonna continue though. I'm sorry. Let's get back to it. Let me do it for Cap. Nigga, like what? I don't believe it. All right.
2016 election.
We're gonna see.
He ran as an independent, stating that it was too costly to get on the tickets for either major party ballot. Unfortunately, Basiago didn't make it past the primaries in 2016. In the 7 primaries in which his name was on the ballot, he received a total of 96 votes. Andrew Basiago has a total of 100 campaign initiatives that he promises to implement when he becomes president. For example, he wants to reveal the time travel technology and the goals of Project Pegasus that the CIA and DARPA have been hiding. He also wants former living presidents to admit that they were aware of the technology and how it impacted their presidencies. Basiago also seeks to reveal the truth about the government's communications with extraterrestrials. He also proposes to publicize information about how nuclear detonations ripped a hole in the space-time continuum, allowing for contact with alien life forms. One of his most exciting proposals is to make teleportation technology available to the general public to solve the country's transportation issues. However, he believes making time travel widely available would cause chaos, so only teleportation would be available to the public. He also wants to put protections in place for the Sasquatch species and investigate the decline of USA's technology, e.g. Microsoft's replacement of Office 2003 with the inferior Office 2007. So that's Andrew Basiago and Project Pegasus. For all our US viewers, I'm curious, have you ever heard of Basiago, and did you see his attempted presidential campaign? If you did, I'd love to hear about it in the comments down below. Our last mysterious sighting of the day comes from the TikTok account Bigfoot I Am Real. It's some hunting cam footage captured deep in the wilderness of Ontario, Canada.
That motherfucker out there.
The clip is brief, but in it, we can see a very large, hairy animal obscured by some trees.
What else though? Is that all it's gonna show? Did he turn? Did he, we're gonna get a different angle?
There's
on
definitely
him?
something there, but what could it be? Viewers have been quick to call this a genuine Bigfoot sighting. Some comments, however, were a little more reserved, suggesting it might be a large bear foraging or scratching its back on the trees. Unfortunately, the clip is so brief, it's
Very
impossible to
possible.
tell what exactly we're looking at here. So I'll throw this quick one out to you, the viewers. What do you think's been caught on this hunting cam in Canada? Share your opinions in the comments down below.
Hey, but look, I say this. A bear scratching his back on a tree, that's very, that could be damn sure what this is. But what I will say, nigga, he got, look kind of humanoid right there. Look kind of swollen at the top part, like he been bench pressing some trees or something out there. And that's just what I see, though. You know what I'm saying? I ain't saying that it is what it looked like, but I'm just telling you that it looked like what it looked like, y'all. But look, hey, that's real talk, though. I mean, that's crazy. The dude, I want to get into the dude. Hold on, I don't want to get into him. I want to talk about the dude that, you know what I'm saying, he run for president and all this other stuff, the time traveling and all this other stuff. That's very interesting to me. That's why I was sitting there listening to it, because I love stuff like that. When I was a kid, I wanted to build time machines and stuff like that type of technology, flying machines that didn't use, gasoline and propellers and stuff. I always wanted, man, I always had that mindset. But that stuff fascinates me. But I will say, it ain't looking too good if you're trying to win this presidency, man. 95 people ain't gonna do it, cuz you gonna need 95 million. You know what I'm saying? Well, way more than that. But I say this, anything is possible. Time travel, very interesting. But I would say, if I want to ask y'all this, if you can step through a portal and go anywhere, you can go to a specific time period of your life or a specific planet, universe, where would you go and why? 'Cause I would tell y'all this, if I can go back in time and do something differently, I would definitely go back in a time where I can work a little harder to get to where I was getting to, so that my daughter could have met my grandmother while she was here. My grandmother always asked about her, and she always wanted to meet her. She never got that opportunity before she passed. I would like to just go back and speed up the process, get these things done a lot sooner, and so they could have met, But she's with the ancestors. She's watching down on us and everything. She's supporting us. She's here with us, you know what I'm saying, at all times. So and another time, Granny, you still out here, you still with me at all times. But that's one thing that I wish I can go back and do something a little bit better, speed up my process of evolution, progressing in life, so that I'm trying to be politically correct, because You know, I got the ops watching me all the time on my channel. They be watching me. What is he gonna say today? You hating asses. Get off my channel, but I'll holler at y'all. I'm out.